Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Southeast Media Sunrise, dedicated to giving a voice to authors of all genres. I'm your host, Jodi Hockinson. Joining us remotely by phone today is J Ahern, author of The Skye in June. J Ahern has authored 4 books and written 2 screenplays, both of which became her novels. Her Consumer's Guide, The Timeless Counselor, the best guide to a successful psychic reading, was the #1 bestseller by a new author at the New York 1991 Whole Life Expo, where she was a featured speaker. Although mostly retired from her 40-plus years as a psychic medium, June continues to share her talents and experiences with the Haunted Bay Paranormal Investigation, as seen on YouTube. The Skye in June is a story about a Scottish immigrant family and their youngest child, who has a uniqueness to attract unusual people. After a family tragedy, they immigrate to San Francisco, California, for a chance of a new life. The family implodes when the youngest child is drawn into the world of mysticism. She and her 3 sisters come of age during the colorful 1960s. It's a portrayal of a family suffering from lies and secrets who must face the past and accept the truth. Anyone who loves a good read about Scottish colonialism and San Francisco history will enjoy this book. Welcome, June, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on, Jodi.
My pleasure. So what inspired you to write The Skye in June?
Well, actually, another author friend suggested I write a novel after I had written a screenplay. And I wrote the screenplay out of respect for my sisters. I have 5 sisters at that time, and I wanted to write about us. I didn't really know how to write a screenplay, but I just went along as I did. And when I finished it, an author friend of mine had said, well, you know, June, if you write it as a novel, it might get picked up easier. And I said to her, how long is that going to take? And so I went ahead and started writing. And it was a lot of fun because I had to fill in where a screenplay has a conversation, set up. I had to actually start filling in parts.
So was this your first book that you wrote?
This is my first novel. I have written the first book, The Timeless Counselor, and I really didn't think about writing a novel. It wasn't what I had planned in my life. But again, I was inspired by another to go ahead and write it. So it is my second book, but my first novel.
Well, I'm certainly shocked that it was your first novel. It certainly doesn't read like one. It's just a very, very intriguing story.
Wow, thank you.
So what was the best part of writing Skye?
The best part of writing, well, especially the best part of writing The Skye in June, was sharing it with my mother and my sisters, sharing it with my family. They would come over and we would take parts. I like writing dialogue, and I would go around the house doing it, but they would come over and we would read it together. We were Scottish immigrants, and I wanted it to have something really sounded like, Scotland. And so I would be told what I needed to fix. And so the best part of writing it really was sharing it with my mother and my sisters. And it was also doing the dialogue. I just would have such a big kick having all of the family in the book having conversations. My husband used to say to me, what was that, dear? I said, no, Maggie's talking to Mary. And off I'd go start, I'm cooking dinner with my laptop. I'm typing dialogue as I'm cooking dinner. It was a lot of fun.
Did you base your characters on people you know?
Well, I have to be careful about that. I had a few people say, hey, I think you're talking about me in there. I did. I mixed personalities. I mixed traits. I based it on some of the family history. It's not an autobiography. Some people think it is because the main character's name is June, and that was based on why I wrote the screenplay originally. And so I did. I did base it. Parts of it are, and then I mixed and matched what I needed.
Who is the character in this book that you liked the most, and why?
Well, I really the main character is a feisty little girl, and I like her, a lot. But there's a character in there, one of her sisters, and that's named Mary. And I really could identify with Mary in the way that she's struggling to, well, they're all struggling to find something about themselves. But Mary's struggling to be accepted while she's feeling really, she doesn't have confidence. And I think that was me most of my life, a lot of my life. Not feeling you're good enough, not feeling that you're pretty enough, not feeling, like her sister Mary is so popular. I mean, her sister Maggie is so popular and everybody likes her, and her older sister Annie knows what has to be done. And Mary's just kind of floundering around trying to find herself. And all the time with her youngest sister, she's trying to support the youngest sister, June.
Who's the character you like the least and why?
Oh, that's easy, hands down. I don't think anybody's going to like the father. Yeah, Jimmy is a hard-working, hard-drinking, judgmental, controlling father, which from the old style of parenting was how it often was. We're a lot more understanding to our kids these days. Back then, when father said it, you did it. He ruled the roost.
That's for sure.
But Jimmy rules it in really kind of in a cool way. He's not very, even how he looks with his narrow eyes and his stocky build. You just can't warm up to the man. I couldn't warm up to the man.
Tell us what your favorite thing is about being a writer, June.
Creating characters and situations where people can really feel emotionally that could be a real story. That could really happen. That's something that I could relate to. And I've had people say that to me when they read the book. They say, man, I felt like I knew that person, or I felt I was that person. And oftentimes it is Mary. I've had women say, God, I really felt for Mary. Mary's a tough little girl, but she's sensitive. And so I really enjoy that in some way. I stimulate, through fiction, I stimulate people to emotionally engage themselves in what if this is true.
So what is your latest book and what's the story behind it?
After the Skye and June, I wrote some more books. And first I wrote a novel, and I was asked to write City of Redemption because when I was in LA doing a stage play for the Skye and June, I met this young Scottish actress, and she just loved the Skye and June. She wanted a part, but she wasn't old enough to play the mother, Kathy. And she had taken the book to her agent. She said, I really want to turn this book into a screenplay. And I already had, but it wasn't that good. And so she asked me if I would write a screenplay for her, a role for her. And I started to write it, and we were getting along really good. And then my eldest sister, who was also my best friend, died unexpectedly one day.
I'm so sorry.
And I just couldn't go on. I've never been devastated, though we use that word. I've never been devastated in life when my sister died suddenly. Later, I learned to say to her up in heaven, hey, thanks a lot for leaving me so fast. But that took quite a few years to get to that point. So when she did, I stopped writing. And by the time I went back to contact the actors, actors move on. They move on to the next gig, whatever's interesting for them. But I didn't want to finish it. So I wrote the screenplay. And again, I took the advice of my first book, my friend, the author, and I wrote a book, a novel. God, it's been fun. That one's fun too. It's all about the 60s, the summer of love. It was a whole different thing. It wasn't little girls growing up. This was, as I say, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I listened to all my 60s music while I'm writing it.
So for many of us, speaking of writing, for many of us, writing is not our full-time job. What is yours?
Well, you're right. What do they always say? Don't quit your day job. If you're a writer, you're an author, don't quit your day job. Well, I have been, for more than 40 years, I have had a very successful psychic medium career, and starting in 1975. and teaching and lecturing. So I had that, and then I would have other little jobs in between to keep myself, as I always say, entertained on planet Earth. So I had that, and now I'm mostly retired, but I still have clients and life coaching, and I do coaching because I enjoy it. Yeah, you're right. You know, when you write a book, one of the most important thing is you can't just write the book and publish it. You have to really engage people in what you're doing. And so part of my job is to go out and do book events and meet people, and I get to do a little traveling. You know, I made it like something I enjoyed. I do enjoy still.
Well, speaking of doing events and marketing, what book marketing techniques have been most effective for you?
Yourself. I remember I joined in a monthly, it was called Wild Writing Women. I would go to their soiree once a month and listen to them. They really, really just kind of championed me on, any writers. And they said, you know, books don't sell books. People sell books. The best marketing advice I can give anyone is you have to talk about your book. And that's hard when, like, we were brought up never to talk about yourself. You're not supposed to toot your own horn. And it's just not something you did. But you can't do that if you're an author. You have to talk about yourself. You have to believe that your work is worthy to tell another person about. You can't be shy about it. Why did I write this? I mean, you wrote it because you thought it was worthwhile. So the best marketing thing I tell people is get speaking engagements. I do quite a bit of book parties, like book clubs or people that just want to gather friends together and have me come and talk to them about my book. It's always lively, lots of conversations. People want to tell you their story and they want to ask the author questions about, you know, just what you're asking. So that's my best marketing advice is you need to get out there. You need to promote yourself, not just by paying for a company to put it out there, tweet it and all of that. That can work too. You know, I have also sold books that way, but I think the best thing is yourself.
Oh, that is so true. So tell us what's next for you, June.
What's next for me? Well, right now I am actually this weekend, I am working on some videos for YouTube where I'm going to introduce my books and follow it up with reading excerpts and telling people kind of what you're asking me. You know, do you have knowledge you would like to pass on? And would you like to write a book about your knowledge or your traveling experiences? To encourage people that if they feel they really have something, they want to do it, like the inspiration. I probably shouldn't do it because I haven't put the video out there yet. But my first inspiration to people, to book lovers, is going to be learn new words. When when you're reading a book and you come across a word and you don't really know what it means, I say the nuns I went to Catholic school, and the nuns would say, stop right there and get the dictionary out and learn that word. And I'll tell you why. Scientific studies have discovered that learning a new word stimulates the same part of the brain that sex and good food does.
Interesting.
So, it's a pleasure. Learning a new word is a pleasure. It stimulates the pleasure part of the brain. And so I would like to stimulate people to think about reading, think about language, think about words. How do you use your words to convey your thoughts? So making videos. I'm going to make some YouTube videos and we'll see how they go.
Well, look forward to seeing them.
Yeah, it'll be fun. You know, Jodi, life, you have to have a little fun, right?
Absolutely. So it looks like we're out of time. Anyone interested in purchasing this book can log into semediapro.com or visit amazon.com. This book is available on Kindle and in paperback. You can also visit juneahern.com. It's JUNEAHERN.com. And that was June Ahern, author of The Skye in June. Thanks again for joining us today, June.
Thank you, Jodi.
And listeners, if you're interested in getting your book published, please visit us at semediapro.com and click on the book publishing link. This is Jodi Hockinson, host of Southeast Media Sunrise, Southeast Media Productions. Like us on Facebook at Southeast Media Productions, or visit our website at semediapro.com.